I think that it has substance, that it's really about something that I think touches all of us, not just women, but us as humans. And I think that it does so in such a unique way. And I think it's also not like anything any of us have ever seen. I think it is a unique experience. And I think it's also a visceral experience.
I feel like everyone that knows Demi now knows Pilaf, and so I like to say that Pilaf took the substance.
Pilaf was your previous dog?
No, that's Demi's dog. Like Demi brings her little dog named Pilaf everywhere, and so anyone that's like a big Demi fan would know Pilaf. Well, not saying that you're not a big Demi fan, but anyone who's I guess Demi obsessed would know about her little Pilaf and.
So this is Pilaf.
So I'm once again copying Demi, is what I'm saying. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Well, now I'm afraid we're just going to have to ask questions about the dog.
Right?
That's really what's going to... How long have you had
That's the whole
him?
point. Just 2 weeks. And I'm like super codependent already. And I was like, well, I think I'm just going to have to bring him. I haven't done much in the last 2 weeks besides just hang. And so apologies for the distraction.
So it's like an emotional support dog, but for you, not...
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He's not the one with separation anxiety.
No.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, again, congratulations on a fantastic movie. And this is an audience of your fellow SAG-AFTRA actors.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. I always like to start at the beginning by asking, how did you get your SAG card? What was the job that brought that to you?
I was lucky. My SAG card, I don't have like a cool, humble story. It was I did a TV show called The Leftovers.
One of the greatest shows of all time.
I love the show, yeah. And that was awesome, and that's how I got my SAG card.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
It was a good one. I got lucky off the gate.
Yeah. You could lie and say McDonald's commercial or something if you wanted to.
Yeah, but it's untraceable, and I'm a bad liar. I know I'm an actor, but I'm a bad liar.
Well, again, congratulations on a wild, wonderful movie. I'd love to start at the beginning because I know this film comes to us from a French writer-director, Coralie. Is it Farget?
I think the fancy French say Farget.
Farget.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I said what you said until I was there for a couple of months and then started, pretending like I was fancier than I am.
I'm familiar with her previous film, Revenge, but how did the script find its way to you and did you connect with it immediately?
Yeah. I also had seen Revenge, and then I read the script and just was really pretty blown away. It was like very descriptive, and everything that you just witnessed was on the page. And so I was enticed and intrigued and kind of sold on the vision just upon reading the script because it was so specific and so detailed. And then I met with Coralie, and both Demi and I'll speak for her, had like a series of meetings. She was super specific about casting and wanting to find the right people to play off of her. And also, I think having now being on the other side, she was also looking for two people that were gonna be like game to go for it for so long. It was like a 5-month intense shoot. Yeah. And she needed people that would just put themselves through it. So
wow, at least it's lighthearted, easy material,
right?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's incredible. So were you sort of cast together? Was it like she was sort of meeting and pairing people? Oh, really? Yeah. So was there a point where like you and Demi had like a chemistry read or anything?
No, we didn't have a chemistry read, but I think she just kind of like had a feeling that our sensibilities would go together well, and they did. Like, I love Demi, and I feel like I've learned so much from her through this process and just watching her, at every step of the way, because I think so much of the job is actually like this part of the job too. She's so elegant and she's so graceful, and so very lucky to have her to do this with, even when she's not here.
Did you ever met her before? Did you meet during this process?
I didn't know her. I'd met her kids before, and her mom, my mom had worked with her at one point, so I felt like there was some kind of familial, like
Yeah.
knowing of her. But this was our first time meeting.
Do you remember the first time you met her? Was it like a table read or probably one of these meetings, I'm guessing?
We started prepping the prosthetics 6 months prior to shooting. So we were in LA at the Sunset Tower and had a breakfast meeting together as we were both, or I was here for prosthetics. She lives here.
I actually have so many questions about the prosthetics.
Yeah.
So I might just jump.
I should have had more questions about the prosthetics. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you know going in? Did you realize how intense it was going to be?
I think, as a reader, when I was embarking on the Sue character, I was looking forward to having the chance to play Monstro because it's the first moment where the audience really has empathy for the character because she's pretty villainous until that point and quite soulless. So that was an important part for me, and that was something I was looking forward to, and something I was excited about. So much so that maybe I kind of glossed over it and was like, yeah, cool, and now I'm a monster. But the reality of doing it was really challenging and quite painful, to be honest. It's not something I don't think I would do prosthetics like that again. It's 6 hours in the chair to put it on, and then once you're in there, it's pretty intense. It's glued to your face. It's it's a lot of weight. I'd have to had my head to the side with the monster weight kind of like this, and I didn't have use of my arms, and I could only see out of one eye, and I couldn't hear. And then, you're doing that for days, and you're mostly having breakdowns in the costume for the film, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I know Demi had a similar thing. She was in the chair for a really long time, and it was super intense part of the filming, but I do think it looks amazing.
It's amazing. And I didn't realize it was practical.
Yeah, it's practical. I'm even to the point where when Demi has the poster of her face and it's on top of the monster, I'm in there with Demi's poster. I don't know why, but the director was quite intent on everything being very real and having my emotions inside that monster. So hopefully you felt them.
Acting through paper is one of the
best kinds of
that's
interesting. Acting through prosthetics and paper. Yeah. I didn't know if that was something that I was ever gonna do. But
were you ever in there together or
no? Okay. She's CGI'd on me. Okay, it's just me. Yeah,
You draw the short straw?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
did
very
you know,
short straw.
Did you know that going in, or were you that was an option?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that they were going to CGI her on me. I don't think it would have that was. Yeah, I'll say it. If you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. Let's move on.
Well, since she's here, let's talk about her some more. Please welcome Demi Moore.
My joke of Keeloff took the substance.
There and I didn't bring her. I left her
a lot. I talk about you a lot.
Oh, Smokey. Hi.
Have you met Smokey before?
No, this is their first meeting, and actually, he must really like you because he's been feeling a little shy and a little territorial. He must know that we are one.
That is in fact true. Hi, hello.
Hi,
My apologies for being slightly tardy.
No, I know for a fact how crazy it is out there right now. Thank you so much for joining us. And actually, we just started off. This is an audience of your fellow SAG-AFTRA actors. How did you get your SAG card?
Oh, gosh. So we're going way back. I was cast on a TV show called Kaz. Most of you have probably never heard of it. It was, and to play a teenage prostitute. I was 16 years old. And so I was Taft-Hartley'd with that one scene that I did where I basically said, $50, mister. That was my big moment.
Wow, he really likes that. Yeah, you did that very well.
But it was a big moment to get that, to take that, to have that, step forward. It felt like I was moving into, serious opportunity, because it's a big change.
Yeah.
And especially at that time, to be 16 but not having been a child actor, they generally would hire somebody 18 to play 16. And so I felt very privileged at that moment.
Oh, wow. Well, we were just talking before you got out here sort of about the process of landing the role. And Margaret was sort of explaining that there were several meetings with you and Qualley, I guess, and sort of getting a vibe for each other. But I'm curious, because you both play, the same consciousness, essentially. Did the two of you sort of compare notes on performances? Were there any discussions about sharing mannerisms, or did you think of them as two different people?
I think both.
Yeah.
In a way, because at a certain point, we are kind of in a cellular point of view, different people, like that, as Sue is in her body. But to your question, I think we both worked so similar. We approached it that and our connection was already so aligned with very little conversation that it didn't take like lengthy discussion. And I think the only real physical mannerism that we have that Qualley was kind of interested in was the kiss.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So the rest was kind of left up to us to kind of find. But I think just our energetic connection is what we had.
Because there's a lot of debate on this. I don't know how the two of you thought about it, if they are the same person, or if you think of them as two completely separate characters.
What do you think?
Well,
tell us the meaning of life. Well,
yeah. I don't know. I know that we're not meant to like know what happened, So in that sense, I think they're maybe it's like, I don't know. I'm your shadow.
I mean, I think we had to kind of come, because obviously this is a world that doesn't exist. And so the rules were really kind of Qualley's making. And then for us to kind of make sense of enough that we could ground it in reality. Yeah. And so I, just for myself, not necessarily that needed to be Margaret's perspective or approach. I had looked at it just in my own mind to make sense, the idea of if you're reincarnated, you may remember when you're quite young, very much of a previous life. And I had seen a show actually called Surviving Death that actually illustrated this with these very little boys who had very clear, specific memories of previous lives. As they got older, they drifted further away from it. So in my mind, I looked at Sue, that other aspect. The more she experienced life, the further she got from me as Elizabeth. So me as Sue became more her own person, and thereby almost that became our battle with each other.
What she said.
Did you discuss this in advance, or is this the first you're hearing this?
No,
But it's also true, like there's even more, we shot for 5 months. There's a lot of the movie that's not in the movie. And there was more moments of like Sue having empathy towards Elizabeth in the beginning and it slowly kind of evolving, and some of that was removed. But I think that there's still kind of that feeling, like at first there's like a slight more like regard for Elizabeth, and then eventually it becomes
Eliza Sue. Yes.
Classic Sue.
I love that you said that this takes place in a world that doesn't exist, because there is like a magical realism or a more heightened reality to it. But I feel like for the most part, the performances are very real and very grounded and relatable. Can you sort of talk about finding that tone? It seems like things are played very honestly.
I mean, as you've seen, the film is quite extreme, and Qualley's, loves like everything to be 110, which when you're approaching it just from an emotional point of view, you can't have everything at 110. Like you have to have nuances. And I feel like her focus was to kind of take care of supporting our performances through sound and shots and the technical aspects. And our job was to anchor it, that we had to keep a semblance of reality and find, our connection when it kind of stretched it. Like, as an example, I'm degraded. My body is hunched over. I can barely move, but I can haul ass down that hallway. And I was like, okay, let me try to find. And in that way, you have to suspend your own sense of belief of what's possible by it not being rules that are of the norm.
Absolutely. You're going to say what she just said, right? Yeah.
What she said.
Yeah.
Like the bathroom scene was my equivalent of that, where it's like you take a sledgehammer, you hit a wall a couple times, and you've got a secret door.
Tap,
That's how it goes. We all know it.
tap.
Tap, 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 sledgehammer, and you're done.
No stop at the Home Depot.
At the same time, I mean, like, the idea of this film is not that far-fetched. I mean, it's speaking in metaphors, but I love so much of what it has to say. And, being as actors in this industry, you probably bring so much experience to the story. I'm curious if you had conversations with Qualley about, the characters that helped shape them at all.
I don't know. I think she spelled out a lot in her script, and but neither of us had a lot of dialogue.
Yeah,
and I think that
She's very visually focused.
yes, and the general themes were very clearly spelled out. The shots she wanted to make, but really, since we're in a room of actors, a lot was really left to us to, I think, deepen into who we felt these women were within the kind of shape that she had presented. Like, she had very specific ideas of Sue's look and those kind of things. But on an emotional level, I think, and from a perspective of it having nuances, that was really like left to us.
Are either of you squeamish at all? Because I'm wondering if, these scenes where, dealing with the prosthetics or just, sewing each other up,
Just a casual day.
it just became like, another day. Or if there's ever any part of you that was like, oh boy.
I'm squeamish when I watch the movie. When I'm like doing it, you're just, you don't have time to be squeamish, or, you just.
I sat through watching it the first time with Margaret and her husband, and they were both like, oh. I was like, you guys okay over there? No. I'm not. I'm generally not squeamish.
Yeah.
No, I was okay. I was okay.
Sometimes when you're on set too, and you see like how clinical it can be, that like helps cure you of any squeamishness. But it looks like a lot of this we were talking was practical. Yeah. So I imagine there was gallons of blood on set.
Literally, actually.
I mean, at the end, it was 30 gallons.
At the end, in that theater,
Jesus,
the director is operating a fire hose with 30 gallons of blood and shooting the fire hose at the extras. I'm not kidding.
I think that was part of her cathartic experience.
Yeah. Okay, you don't consider yourself squeamish, but Dennis Quaid eating shrimp in your face.
Okay.
How disgusting
Can
was
we
that?
just say if that, for me, is the most violent scene in the entire movie? I mean, and with the added sound effects. And his just zeal at like his joy and just like tearing somebody apart and spitting it out. I mean, he loved it. He was so in it. He literally ate 4 pounds.
Oh my God.
4 pounds. Never one moment of like, this is too much. No, he's like, let's go. Like, rah. It was disgusting.
Oh my God.
Truly.
How long do you think you shot that scene?
I mean, considering that scenes could take a very long time, this one actually went pretty zippy.
Yeah.
But
weirdly, the more dialogue the scene had, the faster the scene would go.
yeah, that is
Really?
actually true.
Like the talk show scene, for example, like I think I shot that in an hour. It was very quick, whereas something like sewing up her back would take days.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I admire him doing it, but I also admire you just sitting there and watching that for hours on end.
Well, I don't eat meat, so
Ooh.
that added into, and the sauce. But the metaphor is so powerful because it says, which is interesting, in storytelling, because it says so much without having to say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and we all know that guy.
Yep.
I am curious. You talk about scenes with little dialogue. So much has been made of this amazing moment you have in front of the mirror when you're about to go on the date, and you sort of like keep trying to fix your appearance, and then I shouldn't say fix because you look freaking fantastic, but it's never good enough for Elizabeth over and over again. I'm sort of curious, was that a challenging scene to film? And I think as actors, we'd kind of love to know how you prepped for it.
I mean, I don't know how I prepped other than really doing a lot of pre-production work just with myself, going through and really having, to kind of find my connecting tissue through each scene so that I was prepared from day one with who this woman was. But to that scene, I mean, it was such a kind of a beautiful challenge because the gamut of emotions of going from this hopeful possibility to this, moment of almost stepping out of this self-imposed prison to like a taste of joy for her to absolute self-loathing and violence, against herself, and to not have anybody else to play off of and except your own reflection. And so I think really the best preparation I had in that moment was being present with myself, being present with the sensations around me. And I mean, it was physically challenging. Corley likes to do a lot of takes, and we were a good 15 takes into each section. It's to the point where I thought, I don't know if there was anything else I could do differently. But it was, for me, one of the most important scenes and relatable for us as human beings. I think we've all been there where we've looked in the mirror, we're finding something wrong, trying to make it better, only to make it worse. And that is so self-defeating, so self-sabotaging.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those scenes where, like, the second time I saw it, I'm still hoping she's going to go. Even though I've seen the movie and I know what happens. I'm like,
no, it's so sad.
time.
It's really, it's like, for me, that moment in terms of really heart-wrenching, that moment and when Monstro Elizasu is putting the earring in, those for me have like two really like deep, very human moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've all been a giant monster glob that couldn't wear earrings, right? But no, it is. It's literally bringing metaphors to life. I love it. This film has resonated so much with people. What has the response been like for both of you? Because this is a movie people feel really passionately about and like love to their core. And why do you think it struck such a chord?
Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's been amazing for us. I think we're like shocked and thrilled and like we were very much like in our own bubble for a really long time, just me and Demi and some, pounds of prosthetics and and so the fact that it's had this kind of response is amazing and like exceeded my wildest dreams for this film for sure. Because even though it was a long shoot, it wasn't like a crazy big budget movie. This was like it's done. It's anyway. And then in terms of the reason why it's getting a response, like, I mean, I don't know. I think there's not a person that doesn't have some kind of complicated relationship with themselves and their body, and there's so much pressure put on everybody, and yeah, there's I felt that way when I read the script, like, oh yeah, this strikes a nerve, and then to see it realized in the film, much to your point, that's the scene with Demi in the mirror, like it doesn't get more devastating than that, and yeah, everyone feels like that at a certain point. Save me. What are you gonna say?
I think that there's a lot of factors. I think that it has substance, that it's really about something that I think touches all of us, not just women, but us as humans. And I think that it does so in such a unique way. And I think it's also not like anything any of us have ever seen. I think it is a unique experience. And I think it's also a visceral experience that I think that we've needed. We've needed something to pull us out of ourselves, to kind of transport us, to take us on a journey. And, the parts that Margaret and I, had spoken about before it came out, we were like, God, is this going to work? I mean, like it goes to such a weird place. And then seeing it for the first time in Cannes with a huge audience and realizing that the more extreme place it went, which is the whole idea of the body horror, actually allows you to have a reprieve, to be able to step back, take in kind of the message to whatever degree it relates to you as an individual. And I think that there's so many aspects. There's the aspect of getting a second chance, getting this new hot body and repeating the same pattern, seeking the same validation. I mean, how many times have we all done that? Like where we're like stuck in that. And so I think that it's very human, and yet at the same time takes us on a wild ride. So if somebody also just wants to be entertained, I mean, I think young people are really loving it, and are going back 3-4 times.
Well, you've also seen like loads of, kind of actiony, intense, aggressive movies that have kind of masculine themes, and to have like a female, typically female thematic, even though it is just a human story, but it's given, two ladies, and have that much intensity and that much rage and that much aggression. Like there's nothing soft about this film. There's nothing like, yeah. And I think that's
maybe my ass.
Okay.
They could have gotten you a prosthetic one. I heard they do that. That they can make prosthetic asses.
Surely.
Yes.
We can look into that.
But I do love how it seems to be resonating with so many different types of people and all ages, and not just women. That it's strange, like how universal this very specific movie has become.
Yeah, I think that idea of the violence that we can have against ourselves is so universal. And I think the overriding message of really the idea that there's no better you than you, and that chasing something that we're not is just a trapping of going nowhere. And I think as actors in general, where so much can be focused on our external, it is part of our toolbox. It's our being. And, that idea of finding a more loving, kind, gentle, accepting, way of holding ourselves is something that I think we need. We need it right now.
Well, I want to remind everyone this movie is streaming on Mubi, so you can actually watch it again and again and like really turn up the sound in those Dennis Quaid scenes. It's such a fantastic film. I'm so glad it's getting the love it deserves. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being a great audience.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Smokey.